Hello, welcome back. We'll start off by looking at Bitcoin, and then we'll move on to the IEO coins. Bitcoin, we're on the 4-hourly chart now, and it's actually looking very strong. We made a big move over the last couple of hours, and it looks like we're finding resistance just around our first spot, which is just around 11,800. I would pretty much expect that to be broken and make another move up towards 12 and beyond. Actually, 12,400, 12,500 is probably where this is going to take us. And then find a bit of a resistance point around there. The MACD is definitely looking like it wants to move. The RSI looks like it wants to move. So have a look at the oh my god, what's going on here? Let's have a look at the lower time frames. The 1 hour time frame, yeah, this still looks great. The RSI is actually in the critical zone, but I wouldn't worry so much about that, to be honest with you, because the longer time frames are looking strong. The daily looks like this is about to make a crossover and a larger move again. So actually, probably over the next week, we're going to see Bitcoin pushing up and trying to break up towards the top of this Bollinger Band at least. Probably maybe even try to make its way up to 14,000 again. We'll have to monitor this on a daily basis, but as far as the daily is concerned, we're above all moving averages, actually finding support on these moving averages quite nicely. They're all bending upwards, so they're all quite erect. So it actually looks pretty good for Bitcoin at the moment. So let's move on to the BitTorrent token. So Satoshi value, there's not really much to look at here. We're on the hourly chart here. Let's have a little look on the 4-hourly. We're dealing with such small Satoshi levels that it's kind of silly to really look at it, but yeah, I mean it's neither here nor there. We're flicking around between anywhere from as little as where was this lowest point here, 9 Satoshis, to as high as, what would this be, about 15, 14, yeah. So the small ranges, but each Satoshi tick is actually quite a lot, because it's such a low value coin with the pairing on Bitcoin. So let's have a look at the tether value. So we'll move to an hourly chart to start with. So we've got BitTorrent Speed about to be released actually very, very soon. We had this move last night which looked pretty impressive. It's similar to what happened in the previous week actually. The last weekend was actually higher than this. And then we suffered sell-offs as a result. Now, I would have expected this one to have remained above the 0.0014, which is a pretty tough resistance level for us to get through. We seem to be smashing through it, but then causing a sell-off as a result of that. So yeah, we smashed through that, and now we're being sold off again. Hopefully we'll find a bounce at 0.00135, which is also a significant resistance when we get beneath it. Now, we are trending beneath most moving averages. We're above the 50 and above the 200 EMA. Indicators suggest there's much more downside to be had before we find a bounce, but because we've got that release of BitTorrent Speed in about 14 hours or so, that should hopefully give it some kind of a boost, and then we'll have to see where we go from there. But the nature of this at the moment, I mean, it's a large sideways accumulation, very subtly bullish, but only very subtly. I think what we're looking at here is a very good example of accumulation, because it showed such strong resilience against Bitcoin when other coins have really suffered from that. Okay, so I mean, this fall from grace here was actually the very first time that Bitcoin made it towards 9,000 and collapsed as a result, couldn't take the strain. That was all the way back then, and we've really failed to recover from there. So actually there's been so many moves with Bitcoin, and our Satoshi value, let's have a look, will actually show that more dramatically. But the tether pairing is actually quite strong in comparison. So I would still think that this is a pretty good coin that's waiting to do a large move, whether it's as a result of this release coming out, which usually something like a release will cause a pump and a dump, but the BitTorrent Speed will hopefully start to become operational and successful, and that in turn should start to create a slow and steady moves. This area here is 0.00155. That I would think would get taken out by some point this week. But will we see a sell-off again like this? Probably we will, actually. These moves here were a lot more constructive than this, and even though this is our lowest point here, and we have had a high point here, but this is a a lower high, so what we really need to do is try to make a higher low. So if we can bounce from this area here, that would be very that'd be very good for us to do that. But you know, we're gonna have to wait to see how it plays out. Indicators suggest there's plenty more to go down, and we are on the 4-hourly chart. We'll have a look at the daily just for a laugh to see what that looks like. I mean, it's just sideways accumulation really, and it doesn't look bearish, does it? I mean, it's not a bearish chart. Trading ranges are getting smaller and smaller, which would suggest there will be some kind of breakout at some point soon. Let's have just a quick map of what sort of range we're trading in here. So I mean, it does look small, but it's actually 20% from top to bottom of those Bollinger Band areas, so it's not that small really. It could get smaller. We'll just have to see how this one goes. Daily still looks sideways, RSA looks sideways, so I think, to be honest with you, we'll probably have a pump and a dump and then maybe a sideways trend. Volume is actually quite low for this coin still. Let's move on to Matic then. So Matic is really not looking very healthy at all. Matic's really having a bad time at the moment. So yeah, this again is sideways action, and actually, unlike BitTorrent token, it's sideways and bearish actually. So you could call it accumulation, you could call it redistribution. I think it's more likely to be redistribution than accumulation, but it will get to a certain low point when we find a new low. And let's have a look on the 4-hourly. So I mean, let's get rid of these indicators. I mean, we are really falling now, and actually at this point now, let's just have a quick look. We're pretty much about to make a new low, so that would be a bad sign. It would suggest that there's further to go before it's picked up. Indicators say sideways action, probably down. It's definitely being sold to the max really, so I would expect to see a bounce probably around this last area here with 60. It'll be 1.65. And have a bounce, and hopefully we won't make any further downtrend. But you know, if I was to put my money on it, I'll probably say there is further to fall on this one before there's any kind of significant bounce, because we're beneath all moving averages. All the moving averages are bending down. There's no chance of us trying to make it above these supports, above these resistances to turn them to supports yet. We've got to find a new low. Just like a lot of these alts in general, they need to find their effective lows before they can start to build upon those. Alt season is certainly not something that's in the future. Really, there will be an alt season at some point, but I can't see it taking place at the moment. Bitcoin dominance is certainly dominant at the moment, so it's taken over more than 60% of the market value. So yeah, and let's have a quick look at the Bitcoin pairing. So Bitcoin pairing is also looking pretty tragic. I mean, we did break out of this descending triangle, descending wedge, which was good, but we've started a new descending one of our own, and again, beneath all moving averages, which are all pointing down, it suggests that there's further to go, and the further Bitcoin moves up, the lower these Satoshi values will go. Our lowest Satoshi value was 120 Satoshi, so we might actually revisit that one again before there's any kind of bounce, especially if Bitcoin starts to move up again. Anyway, let's move on to CELR. So CELR's got its mainnet release at some point today, in different time zones and things. I'm not exactly sure what time it's being released, to be honest, but it is scheduled for for today. So we'll give it within the next 24 hours. I would expect to see a boost. So we are on the Bitcoin pairing here, and we're suffering, looking quite bearish as a result of this boom that we did have, and it actually looked quite constructive to start with. But now, when we look at it now on the hourly chart, it did have a boost, but it's falling back down again. Let's have a look at higher time frames. So in the 4-hourly. 4-hourly doesn't look great. Yeah, the MACD doesn't look great. RSI is going down, so we've probably got a bit further to go down, despite the fact that there is a mainnet release coming out. The 200 EMA is sloping downwards, and it's actually proved to be a resistance for us as well. So that's also not a great sign for us. Probably bouncing at the bottom of these Bollinger Bands. I wouldn't expect to see a further downtrend from them, but as the indicators, so the as these moving averages are all bending down with us, the Bollinger Band will also go down also. So yeah, we'll probably find bounces at the bottom of these, but they'll be lower and lower and lower. The main net release will probably give it a pump, and there'll be certainly a dump as a result of that. So it's not looking very strong. It definitely looks better than Matic, but it's not looking that strong at all. We'll have a look at the tether pairing just to finish this video off. So tether pairing, much in the same. So we found a very small trading range within here, and we did have a break. And we are only on the hourly chart here. Let's go to the 4 hourly. 4 hourly just suggests sideways movement within here, and actually it doesn't look as bad when we look at the tether pairing. So we'll probably find a bounce soon at the bottom of this Bollinger Band if we were to make it down there. Looks like we're finding resistance here on the 21-day close, which is actually no, that's the 7-day close. Actually, all the moving averages are converging actually at the moment. We're still finding resistance at the 200 EMA. So all lines are on seller for this release, and certainly the same same goes for BitTorrent token. All eyes are on BitTorrent token for their release. Would expect to see pumps as a result of that, but the charts across the board do look slightly bearish in the short term. And who have we got to blame for that? Bitcoin. Never mind. There's plenty more opportunity out there. We'll just have to wait and see how Bitcoin decides to play it out, and to see what kind of reaction those coins have to the BitTorrent token, BitTorrent Speed release, and Seller's mainnet. Anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate you tuning in, and I try and make the videos daily, so put your notifications on if you are interested in these coins. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day. Take it easy.